Da da da. We are live. Live chat. Live chat. I want to see all the chat. Hello. It's art stream time. I'm slightly discombobulated, but we're gonna work on it. Right now I have a completely blank piece of paper and I'm gonna start making a comic on it. I can see eraser crumbs off of it. I haven't started from absolute scratch on a page on the stream in a little while, so starting from the top. So this piece of paper is an 11 by 17 piece of Bristol paper. It's nice and heavy, and it's a smooth surface, but it is bigger than what I need, so I am going to make a smaller live area that's going to be 10 by 15. And yes, you can do this with a T-square if you would like, but the edge of my desk is not square and the edge of my board is not square, so all of that is, kind of a moot point. Hey, Hungry, thanks for joining me. A lot of eraser crumbs all over the place stuck to the back of my ruler. All right. So that's our long measurement. 1 inch in from either end to give us the 15 from the 17. And then connect those little dots across the top. Is my camera at a weird angle? It looks like it's very warped right now. Let's try to fix that. It's looking a little... That's a little better. It's a little more square. Stop jiggling. Hey, Keith, thanks for joining me. Doing pretty good. I had a very hectic afternoon, so I'm kind of like, what am I doing? All right, so we're going to be working on today. I'm the first chapter 2, page 3. There we go. All right, so off to the side here, I have my script, which I'm not going to show you. And I've got my thumbnails, which I'm going to use to figure out what I'm doing here. Those are larger than usual sized thumbnails because in this project, since I'm working with a collaborator, I have a friend who's writing the project and I'm just doing all the art. I say, as if that's not a lot to do, but I'm doing all the art, he's doing all the writing. And so I do my thumbnails larger than I would do them just for myself so that he can look them over and get an idea of what I'm going for and provide feedback before I actually commit to the comic pages. And so them being a little bit larger, I can make them a little bit more legible for someone else to look at them rather than when it's just me looking at them, and it's okay if they're a little bit scribbly and scratchy. All right, up here we've got 2 panels on this tier. You can see how when doing this traditionally, just even laying out the panels takes a little while. Let's see, what are we dealing with for... What size is there? Okay. And then down here, this is going to be broken into thirds. So we're going to go 3 1/4 and 7 1/4, which will give us roughly thirds. I'm going to make dots on either side and then connect them. Then in the middle here, this panel is going to be a little bit, this middle tier is a panel that's going to take up a little bit less space than that entire tier. I want it to be kind of like shrunken in as kind of a tense moment. So we're going to go in 1/2 inch all the way around to just make that a little bit smaller and kind of set in away from the rest of the panels. What just happened there? What was that? What was that? My pencil rolled on the edge of my ruler, and it sounded very weird. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, I got the first chapter done, and so the first chapter is done, and the project actually funded today, which is very exciting. But there are 4 more chapters. There's 5 chapters overall, and that's going to be a lot of work. And so while the Kickstarter's going, I figured I should work on the next chapter so that we can chat about it and just kind of keep the focus on that project for right now, since that's, you know, the big thing at the moment. So I'm using my Rapidograph, the Koh-i-Noor Tech Pens. Get my panel borders. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I was not expecting it to fund that quickly. We funded in the first 24 hours. Just barely. Just barely. I think we were right down to the last, 10 minutes. But we did it. Now it's like, okay, now we have to get to work and actually finish this thing. Well, start on the rest of it, basically, because that's going to be... We have it set for delivery a year from now because making comics takes a long time. And we would rather give ourselves a little bit of time and not be rushed and panicking. And know that we can hit the deadline rather than make people wait for us. Always a better idea to give yourself more time than you think you need, because stuff comes up. And if stuff miraculously doesn't come up, then at least you aren't stressed. You can meet your deadline comfortably. I'm making sure as I go that I can see those little lines so that I don't accidentally blow right past them. Whoop, come on. Gets grouchy when you hold it at an angle. There we go. All right, so there's all the horizontal ones. Yeah, it's good. It is. It's good for everyone involved. It keeps the creative team, I say as if there's a ton of us. It's literally just me and Jeremy, but it keeps me and Jeremy from being extremely stressed out, and that way too you're not disappointing anybody, you know. I've definitely been involved in Kickstarters that went way overdue, not necessarily like any individual person's fault, just because it happens. Like the deadline was just not set long enough for the project, for the amount of work that needed to get done and the amount of like X factors of things possibly going wrong outside our control, like printing delays and shipping delays and whatnot. And people don't like it. And I don't blame them. I don't blame any backer for being like, hey, you said I would have this by this date and I don't have it. What the heck? I get it. That's frustrating. So do the best we can to not be in that situation, is the idea. Get all these panels outlined. Almost have panels all outlined. Just a couple more lines. And this ink dries pretty quickly. Not quite as quickly as like a felt tip, but pretty darn quick. There we go. All right, so there's all the outlines of the panels. Hooray! Well, that didn't take too long, I guess. It's about 15 minutes to get the whole thing, go from a blank piece of paper to having outlines of panels. All right, so unfortunately, one thing we do have to do is perspective grids. So I'm going to move my Masonite drawing board. This is just like sitting on top of my drafting table. Just it's a little bit smoother than the drafting table. So I'm going to move that out of the way for a minute in order to utilize the nice little wood board lines on my drafting table for helping me with perspective. It's kind of goofy, but that's what I'm doing. So looking at my first panel, so I usually do a lot of this, like laying the groundwork for page stuff before the stream even starts, because it's not the most thrilling, but it's kind of fun to do on stream every once in a while. All right, so looking at this first panel here, it looks like my perspective line is going to be somewhere right in here, because we've got the table coming up to meet it. We've got the cabinets, the doorways, and the top of the fridge coming down. So I think we're looking at that table, the way I sketched it does not make sense in perspective. So we're going to have to mess with that a little bit. But that's the idea, is that I think the horizon line is going to be there, just a little bit above halfway. Like maybe a little bit above half. So I'm going to say that's going to be about there. And I'm going to go all the way across so that it's on the other side of the page there. Mark it so that I don't forget what I'm doing. This is my horizon line. Got a couple pieces of drafting tape that I keep on the edge of my desk until they are no longer at all sticky. Reuse them over and over and over again until they have lost all stickiness. This first line is finishing point is going to be relatively close. So we get that. I'm lining up my horizon line with the lines on my board. Look at that. On boards that I've used before, like drafting tables that I've used before that did not have like built-in lines, I would like draw a permanent one that I would use. All right, and then I take a different color than the blue I normally draw with, just so they're easy to see. In this case, it's like a pink. For my first set of perspective lines, my vanishing point, I'm going to pick that little point where it meets the edge of the desk there. Yes, I know I could do this all in Photoshop, but I don't want to. And then we're going to radiate out from that point to get our grid. So I'll have the lines on the panel for me to reference, but they won't be the same color as what I'm drawing, so it should be less confusing visually for me while I'm working on it. To know that, like, oh, the pink and the red lines are my guidelines and the blue lines are still what I'm actually drawing. All right, where's my red pencil? There's my red pencil. Okay, so now I got that set of lines, but this is going to have to be 2-point, so I'm going to have to get the other set of lines. I did not. I just kind of eyeball it. I'm using the. As long as you keep your. As long as you keep the horizon line the same, which I'm using the lines that are on my desk to do that, then that's fine. I don't usually go into the hardcore mathematical stuff for perspective. I just kind of eyeball it. So that was 1 point. I'm still keeping on a nice even line here. And then that's why I have the line that goes all the way across the page to line up with. I need to go further out. So I'm going to need to reach over and get my great big, longer than a yardstick metal ruler. So it like ends at, it stops measuring at 36 inches and then there's still like 4 more inches just hanging out past there. And scoot stuff out of my way so that I can get my other vanishing point out as far as I need it. Scoot the other junk off my desk and move my light. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, I think I've got it. So I think this vanishing point is out past where you can see it because I'm going to do it all the way out here. Yeah, you can't see that. I'm over there. I'm over that way a ways. but you'll see the effect anyway. Will be pivoting off of that point. Whoop. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna move this enormous ruler out of my way. So it's very handy for when I have to do this, but it is quite cumbersome literally every other time of its existence. Okay. Ugh. Dropped something. What did I drop? My eraser. Whew. Okay. Do I need a perspective grid for any other scene on here? I think I can. This one doesn't need one. This one I can fake. I'm comfortable faking this one. This is a close-up. This one I can probably find. This one I should do because this last panel, this one is a down shot. So this is like looking from the ceiling down on the scene. So the perspective, like the horizon line, is actually going to have to be above the panel. It's not going to be in frame. It's going to be up here. But when you're doing a down shot, especially, it's very helpful to have those grid lines to make sure that you're keeping things in the appropriate perspective. It's just a really good way to like anchor yourself while you're drawing it. So otherwise, it's very easy for stuff to get really squashy looking. So for that, I'm going to keep it where you guys can see it. We're going to have it be right up here. This is horizon line 2. I'm going to scoot it down to this line. No, you guys can't see that very well. We'll leave it up here. Line it up right there. There we go. And again, tape it so it does not escape. There's a cat hair on that. Let's see, is that? Yeah, I think that'll work for what I'm doing. You don't want to put the perspective points, the vanishing points, too close, because then stuff gets all warped and wonky. And it's like, what is happening there? Since that one was fairly close, we're going to scoot this over and we're going to do the other one a little bit further away. Lift and scoot. Whoop. Stuff is in my way again, including my light. All right. Here's our other point. There we go. Okay, so now we have a nice, not super extreme, but nice kind of subtle down shot there. All right, now I can get my board back up here just because it's a little bit smoother to draw on. I really need to like refinish this at some point, but the problem is if I refinish it, then I can't like be using it for however long it takes me to refinish it. It's a conundrum. I'll also put away my enormous ruler before I knock it over. Huh, where did my pencil go? I don't know. I guess we're gonna, the tiny pencil that I had in my holder seems to have disappeared. I think I must have knocked it off the drafting table and didn't realize. So I'll start a new one. Drawing in Prismacolor Kohl Erase Blue, number 20044. I gotta sharpen it, because it's not sharpened yet. They don't come sharpened. Okay. Ta-da. All right, I've got my thumbnail here. And I can start roughing stuff in. Now, these are all interiors, so there's a lot of like trying to figure out where furniture and stuff is. So like this scene, we've got a kitchen table here. That's not following the perspective line that I drew for myself. Good job. That's better. So like there's the edge of the table. We've got our character here. So I've been working for a while on like finishing a lot of these pages. Like more recently, I was finishing coloring all of these pages, and it's really nice to actually get to go back to figuring out layouts and getting to pencil again on this project, because not that I don't like coloring, but it's not like my favorite part of the process. And so it was very much like, okay, I just got to get through this and then I can get back to the fun part, which for me is doing layouts and pencils. That's the part I have the most fun with, even if it's very challenging. As I try to figure out a gesture for how does one eat eggs? What are you doing with your arms when you eat eggs? I don't know. Who knows? Fork. That doesn't make sense. He's supposed to kind of be reading off to one side while also eating, so I need to adjust that a little bit. There's this plate of food, anxiously close to the book because he's a teenage boy and it doesn't occur to him that that's maybe not the best plan. Okay, let's scoop this over. I don't want the table to go quite that far over. There's like a chair over here. We're going to have like some mail and stuff over here. It kind of drives me crazy when I see people draw interiors of like contemporary homes and there's like no clutter anywhere. There's no like just random stuff lying around. I mean, I know not everybody keeps their house this way, but most people I know, their house has a lot of just like random stuff all over the place. My house certainly does. Got a doorway here. And we've got a fridge over here. Exactly. It's like you gotta have like mail on the table and like a bag of chips that somebody just like crumpled the top up and shoved next to an appliance. Like this is what houses actually look like. This is what most people's homes actually look like. It just consistently drives me so crazy when it's just like not the way that things are portrayed. Okay, so that's where the back corner of the fridge is, following the perspective lines, which means that the other doorway in the room is going to be back here. They should be about the same height, so the bottom is going to be back here. And I did actually draw out like a floor plan of Alex's house. And so I know where all of the, because I mean, a fair amount of the story takes place there. So I know where all of the, like all of the doorways and all of the major appliances and windows and everything are in the basic layout. Just so that it, partially so I don't get myself in trouble later with doing something silly as far as like just doing something goofy and inconsistent. But it's like it's the living room through there. So there's like a chair, a little bit of a lamp in the corner. Partially to make sure that I don't get myself in trouble later with like being inconsistent, but also just to give the home a more like the setting a more authentic feel, because it's like if there's it is kind of obvious when a setting does not exist in the artist's mind beyond what you see in the panel. And it just makes it feel a lot less real. Whereas like if I know thoroughly what is happening outside of this immediate panel, then I can more accurately have this panel shot and composed. And then it just makes the whole rest of the house feel more real because I know where it is. It does in fact exist, even if only in my mind. But that's better than not even existing in my mind. If that made any modicum of sense. We've got someone new coming on the scene. I don't want his arm to be quite touching the door frame yet, because that looks like he stopped moving when he's supposed to be moving in. Where did my eraser go? Oh, come on. There it is. So we'll just have his arm out, like, in preparation of the lean, but not quite there yet. So not quite touching there yet. But clearly that's what we're aiming towards, is leaning on the door frame. It's kind of awkward. I don't like it. I still am not liking this this pose. I gotta, yeah, he can figure out his lean once he gets in the next panel. We don't have to worry about it quite yet. There we go. It's a little better. He's more clearly just stalking forward at this point. Okay, and another note, while I am lettering digitally, it's still always a good idea to know where your word balloons are supposed to go. Which in this case is right there. So I make a space for them right there so I won't accidentally put anything critical there while I'm drawing, because that would be bad. Get this one character in here. Got a little bit of a stoop going on. Yeah. I'm still not sold on that positioning, but we'll come back and work on that some more later. All right. So we've got our two characters in their, more or less in their spots. We've also got, there's going to be like another chair over here. And there's a refrigerator here. Got fridge. And that's the other thing, is that something like a refrigerator right here is gonna kind of accidentally break up this panel and make it seem like maybe there's two panels there. So two things I got to watch out for is not having the line weight be too heavy, the color of the fridge being different enough from gutters so that it doesn't accidentally read in a split second like a gutter. So I'd want that fridge to be like maybe black or really like grungy white. Probably not stainless. It wouldn't make sense in this story for it to be stainless because they don't have like super nice things in their house. But like a grungy white or like a black fridge, either of those would work. Like the white can be very dirty. And to have that word balloon there breaking that line so that it breaks up that shape and it doesn't look like, anytime you have vertical or horizontal lines in a panel, which sometimes are unavoidable, but anytime you have one like that, you risk it accidentally being read as a panel break. And so having something that breaks that, like crosses that line and pushes it back to the background will help to keep that from being an issue. The other thing that I'll have to look out for when I'm working on it is line weight. As long as the lines around the fridge are a lot lighter than the panel border lines, then it shouldn't read as a panel break. It's another way to try to fix that issue. And yes, I could also just compose this panel differently. But I like the composition for storytelling reasons. And I'm not going to get hung up on little like drawing technicalities when the most important thing is getting the story across and the emotional element of the story and the emotional impact of the story across as clearly as possible. Obviously, some people may argue with me on that point and not agree with me on that point. They may not agree that that's the most important thing. That's fine. We can disagree. I'll maintain that I'm right, but we can disagree. That's okay. All right, we got a stove back here. We've got a window back here. There should be like some kind of light fixture up here. Maybe a curtain over the window. It's usually like a little valance curtain on those windows over the sinks. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel. It's like having these guys on opposite sides of this panel and like in this very obvious like face-off confrontation type setup just makes more sense for the story than trying to frame it differently and not getting to see both their expressions or having them not so very flatly opposed to one another, which is what this is showing you right now, is that these two are on opposite sides of a conflict. All right, we've got a cabinet. We've got some slightly higher up cabinets since this is over the stove. And we'll want to have some various bits and bobs here. So we're going to want to have like cooking utensils, and this is the sink back here. So we're going to have like a big old thing of dish soap, that sort of thing. Tea kettle's probably sitting over here somewhere. I don't want to block the clock on the stove, though, so maybe the tea kettle can be put away for now. I do need the clock to be on the stove, because that's also kind of relevant. All right, so there's basic layout of this panel. What are we at? We're at 8:45. Okay. Got another. I think that's a pretty Yeah, it's just 2 words. It's a very small word balloon down here. All right, the obvious. I am avoiding looking at you or talking to you type pose. There's that one. And a bigger word balloon for more words. Aggressively ignoring. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's the I am not gonna be a part of this conversation. This is me doing everything I can to not be a part of this conversation. Now we're getting a good doorway lean in here. Yeah, it's a little low. It's a little low. Doorways like that are pretty tall. And this character's not exceptionally tall. Good. He's going to be doing the point while holding bottle move, which I'm definitely going to have to get reference for to make not look like a pile of scribbles like it is right now. But that's where it's going to be. Doesn't look, that pose isn't quite right. I'm trying to figure out why. I think the problem is actually that this shoulder should be higher. This shoulder should be lower because he's putting weight on it. And so that means he's got the contrapposto thing going on, and this hip should also be up. So that's the side he's leaning his weight on. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Still doesn't look quite right, but it makes more sense anyway. I'll have to refine that a little bit. Poor Alec, just trying to eat his breakfast, being annoyed, being harassed. This right here is where he's going to be. Yeah, I'll push that back further. He's going to be trying to leave. He's kind of need to scoot him over. He's like sliding out of the panel. What are you doing over there, buddy? Where are you going? He's getting up. He's grabbing his bag and shoving his book in it. Trying to get out of there. There's the grabbing the book bag. So he tries to get out of there. Okay, so there's the basic. This chair that he's gotten out of is going to be right back here. Breakfast plate is going to be right over here. I don't think you're going to see too much of the chair, but there you go. It's there anyway. Yes, exactly. Trying to get away from whoever's at the door. You've figured it out. I appreciate that you could tell that's what's going on. All right, we have less than 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to work on refining this first panel a little bit while I talk to you guys again about what I'm doing here and remind you of all of the things. So, in case you came in late, I'm Amanda Call. I am working on a comic project that I'm in the middle of right now called I Am the First. It's being written by my friend Jeremy Flagg and drawn by me. We are currently live on Kickstarter, and I put the link in the description, so you can go check it out. We funded today, which is super exciting, but that means now I have a whole lot more comic pages to draw. So that's what I'm doing. I'm like just kind of in shock that we're funded so quickly, and it's actually going to happen. This comic's actually going to happen. So that's really awesome. The first chapter is already done, but there's going to be 5 chapters overall. So now I'm starting to plug away at chapter 2. And I'll probably be working on this page and other related I Am the First things for the duration of the campaign. And then I'll be switching back to Age of Night pages. Just while we're doing the campaign, it just seems to make sense to focus on showing you guys what goes into this project. Age of Night is still going on. That's my regular webcomic project. It's updating every Wednesday. And that can be found at ageofnight.com. That's ageofnight.com. You can read the whole thing online for free. I'm starting chapter 26. That's been going for a heck of a long time. And you can read all of Age of Night for free, but if you want to help support me, and also you'll probably get more sneak peeks of what I'm working on for I Am the First, you can follow me on Patreon and support me there. That's patreon.com/ageofnight. You can follow me on Instagram at AmandaCallArt and Twitter at Age of Night. There's also a Facebook page for Age of Night. So you got some options. Got some options for following me. Let's see, what's going to go in front here? We're going to have this plate of food go in front here. Get my ellipse to actually look like an ellipse and not like somebody sat on it. So yeah, I'll probably continue working on this next Friday for the art stream. Yeah, thanks so much, Keith. I really appreciate you hanging out and asking questions and making comments. It's always a lot of fun. I like having company while I work. Put the comic that Alec is reading in front of him. And as I mentioned in my last video, like pre-recorded and edited video, I'm not drawing the cover because I realized that that's foolish. I drew the cover once digitally and I will just put it on here. Put it on here in the coloring phase rather than driving myself crazy trying to draw it over and over again. It's just foolish. So yeah, I do these live streams every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I also do a few pre-recorded and edited videos a month, usually about art, making art, or like, discussing different things about art or being an artist. Did one recently about working on this project and figuring out how to be more efficient while I was coloring. So that was fun. Some of it, I'm sure, is very obvious information to people who do a lot of digital art, but it was stuff that I was trying to figure out for the first time because I do so much traditional work. So had to go and reinvent the wheel on stuff. All right. I think that's going to do it for this evening. We started tonight with a completely blank piece of paper, and now we have all of the panels laid out. We have our perspective grids on the panels where we need them, and the whole page is roughed in, and I'm starting to refine my pencils. And then hopefully we'll be able to continue working on the pencils next week. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me. I will see you next time. Bye.